Hello there friends, I am Trent/Elevate and I'm here to share some more powerful ideas. The idea I'm going to share with you today is the idea of infallible frameworks. Now what is an infallible framework? I would say that each different area of life, each different craft or field or endeavor or skill set, each little area of life has a infallible framework. An infallible framework is essentially a very small list of key principles and techniques which make the craft tick. So if you are able to execute the principles in that framework, then you will succeed in the craft, okay? Now just to clarify what it is, I'll give you an example of an infallible framework, and then this could help to deepen our understanding of what it is and to help us see the immense power of infallible frameworks. Now, as you may know, I am a musician. I love to make hip-hop music, and you can check out some of the music on my channel. But I've been venturing into singing lately, and I was practicing some singing, and I also compiled a few different kind of principles or techniques of singing. And I ended up compiling this list of 4 really powerful principles to singing well. Now I applied these principles and I was able to just transcend all the previous limitations I once had with singing. I was able to just go beyond the previous boundaries that my voice and singing abilities had. I'll quickly share the 4 powerful principles of singing just to help you understand what happened in my experience and then how that powerful experience can be applied elsewhere. So the key concept number 1 of singing that I wrote down is we have 3 different voices: the chest voice, the mixed voice, and the head voice. They are located below the nose, pretty much in and around the nose, and then in the head above the nose. The key concept number 2 is that the higher up your face, the higher the pitch. So that means, as you resonate the sound higher and higher in the face/head, the pitch gets higher and higher. Key concept number 3. For the pitch to be loud, there must be a lot of space opened up in your face and your cranium. You need to open up a lot of space so there can be louder resonance. That's key concept 3. Then key concept 4 is using the uh-oh technique to close off your vocal cords. What does it mean to close off your vocal cords? It's essentially, as you try to hit a certain pitch, especially a high pitch, you might find it's a bit airy and breathy. So closing off your vocal cords is when you sort of engage the chords and you're able to pierce into that pitch with fullness and conviction. And going like, uh-oh, that technique of just going uh-oh closes off the chord. So you practice doing uh-ohs at higher pitches and you're able to pierce the higher pitches so that you can go like, uh-oh, uh-oh, oh, oh. So that's the idea. So those are 4 key principles of singing. And what I did is I started practicing and I was just super aware of using those principles. With such painstaking precision, I was impacting the mechanics of my face to align with those principles. And as I started to meticulously execute the logical mechanics of those principles in singing, let me just really stress, I was extremely focused on everything going on in my body. I was focusing on the mechanics, the earthy mechanics that can be felt. And as I executed the logical mechanics of those principles with such proficiency, it created this influx of heavenly, transcendent beauty. It was like as I harnessed the real logical mechanics of how to sing well, the logic gave me power. It gave me the power to do whatever I wanted with my voice, to go to places I had never gone. And with that power came such inspiration, such joy, such expression, experimentation. I was adventuring in my voice because I nailed the logic of it. The logic gave me the abilities I never had before. And it really was a beautiful thing. Now, the thing about those 4 fundamental principles, which gave me such a great benefit, is they are not just theories. They are not just theories of how to sing, but they are actually truth. They are universal principles. They are the truth and they are reality. They are how the world works. They are how, well, the human body and the voice works in particular. They are the truth. And anyone can validate that by simply using those principles, by seeing, are they true? Then you apply it, then you'll realize, oh yes, that is true. So that's a very powerful idea. And what I propose to you is that beyond just singing, you can apply this idea of infallible frameworks to any craft. In any craft, you should try to find the list of principles which, if you apply those principles, you will succeed in that craft, because those principles are what make the craft tick. Now, infallible frameworks have 3 main characteristics. The first one is that it must be very clear and concise. It's not some long, convoluted thing with all this poetic, expressive language. It must be a list of extremely clear and precise principles. It'll be a relatively short list, I would propose. So that's the number 1 characteristic. It is clear and concise. Number 2 is it must also be adequately comprehensive. Although it's clear and concise and you've thrown away all the unnecessary ideas which aren't vital, by the same token, it hasn't left out anything important, okay? It has given you all of the fundamental ideas which make it tick. So it is short and concise, yet adequately comprehensive. It's got all the info you need in those few principles. Then the third characteristic, which is perhaps the most important one, is you must be able to instantly validate whether or not that principle is true. So once you see that short list of infallible frameworks for a certain endeavor, you must be able to apply it and then see whether or not it worked. You see, because if the principles really are the truth of how it works, then it will be validated time and time again without fail. That is why it's so powerful if you can lock down and capture the universal principles for any area, because it gives you ultimate power, because if you use them, you will not fail. It's so powerful. So, how do you find the infallible framework for a given craft? How do you actually embark on that process? Well, I think there's one particular idea you can follow to get there. And the idea is, you always want to be either using a universal principle that is infallible, or you want to be looking for them, okay? So you never want to be in this grey zone where you're doing a certain craft or doing anything. You never want to be in a grey zone where you kind of know what works, but you kind of don't, you're a bit unsure. No, it's either you've found a principle which well and truly works, it is infallible, it is a universal truth, and you are using that principle to achieve massive results in the area. But if you actually don't know the principles which infallibly work, then you must be embarking on the process to find them, okay? You're never in this grey zone where you're not sure. It's either I found the principle that works, I'm using it, or I'm currently actively looking for it. Okay, now in terms of looking for the set of principles which make your craft work, there is one particular technique which can help you to find these principles. And it is to, whenever you practice the craft, or whenever you are practicing the endeavor, you don't want to just go and, go on autopilot and just do it. So for example, if you're practicing singing, you don't want to just start singing and just see what happens. But you want to be very specific and deliberate in what part of singing you're exploring. Okay? And this can be applied for more than just singing, but as you look for the universal principles, have a specific question in mind. Say, okay, as I embark on this little practice session, I ask the question, could this particular idea be a principle that makes it tick? I'm going to explore that. And then as you practice, you are extremely focused. You have a single point of focus on either validating or unvalidating that particular idea you came up with. So for singing an example, you might look to focus on, can I open up my nasal cavity more and more to create a richer sound in that area? Notice how that's a very specific focus. You're not just singing along, but you're being extremely deliberate in where you're placing your focus. And what you're doing is you're looking for the cause and effect. And once you've found a cause and effect that is really consistent, it's like every time I do this, this happens. Every time I do this, this happens. And you've found a cause and effect that just is always repeating and being validated, then you've found a principle. But you can only really find a solid cause and effect by going into your practice, by knowing what it is you're looking for, by knowing what principle you are looking to either prove correct or incorrect. It's almost like as you practice a certain craft, or as you go into the certain craft, there's like a dial you can turn up, which is the specificity of your focus. Like, how specific and precise is the focus that you're doing, Are you just idly going through the motions, or are you like, okay, I'm going to focus on this one tiny little micro component of the craft, and I'm going to view the cause and effect of that particular little component of the craft, and then see what happens. Okay, well, I think that is about it for this video. So, to reiterate, in any given craft, we must strive to find the universal principles which make it work. And these principles can be validated over and over again. That's the idea. It's not guesswork, but we're searching for principles which always work. And one more word is, in some of the examples I gave, such as singing, as you look for the cause and effect, you're kind of getting instant feedback, right? Because as you use your energy, you see the result, it's like instant feedback. But what about an endeavor where you don't get instant feedback, such as business? In which case, you still apply a similar process of having a very precise focus to find the cause and effect, but you may have to, implement your idea, say, okay, I'm going to implement this idea and see how it goes. And you won't just get instant feedback in business, but what you can do is make sure you have the metrics to be able to monitor the result of that. Then maybe make a small adjustment to your causation, boom. And then make sure, in a few weeks' time, you have the metrics to see the result of that. So whether it be instantaneous feedback in a physical sort of craft, or whether it be, non-instant feedback, you're still ensuring that you're very vigilant in putting out your causation. Like, you have an inquiry of, I'm going to put out this causation and I'm going to see what happens. And then you kind of lock on to what is the result that constantly happens when I do this. So I hope I was able to explain this well. I hope that you can see the immense power that happens when you find infallible principles which always work. It is a powerful thing. And you may think it sounds like a bit of effort to constantly try and find these infallible principles, to find these truths which always work and to pinpoint them among a sea of information, to actually pinpoint them. You may think that's a fair bit of effort. But what actually is a fair bit of effort is to navigate life not really being 100% sure of exactly what works and what doesn't, to have an idea of this sort of works a fair bit of the time but not always, and being unsure about what really works in any given area. That is going to take a lot more effort to navigate that sort of paradigm. But if you actually pinpoint the principles which always work without fail, then it takes less effort from that point on. It's like an investment. You invest a lot of energy and time in finding the principles that always work, but once you find them, you can just implement them and bam, you've got the result. You don't even have to think about it, because it's so simple once you've found the irrefutable principle. Well, I hope this video helped you. I wish you all the best in compiling your list of principles. If you find a infallible framework, then please leave it in the comment section. I'm sure we will all benefit greatly from it. Thank you for watching, and much love.